Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is war will no longer be contained to just one area. So says Vicky Parnell. That's our topic today. Now, before we get into the topic, you only have 4 days left if you would like to support Prophecy Club. And if Prophecy Club has been a blessing to you, if it has helped you, if you've gained in some way, then this is the one time of the year that we ask you to support us. Now, there may be other times, but I mean, this is always the one time. And if you'd like to have your donation deductible, then it should be postmarked to us before December 31st, according to the IRS. And if you'd like to support us, then there are other ways also. But anyway, if God has blessed you and you can help us, now would be a really, really good time. So God bless you. And of course, by the time you're watching this, probably Christmas is over. So I'll at least still say a Happy New Year, and may you be very prosperous in the coming year. Okay. Massive troop and armor movements begin in Belarus. New combat designation K. Now, part of the article says that troops in Belarus are now on the move toward Ukraine. And remember, our topic today is that war is no longer going to be just contained in one area. This proves what she's saying. Also, that bear a new combat group designation K, whatever that means, and there's going to be a new invasion of Ukraine, which will commence Christmas Day, so the insiders say. It has been speculated for weeks that Russia will begin massing troops in Belarus. Some say Belarus. Okay, if I'm mispronouncing it, I'm sorry. But Belarus to launch a second offensive into Ukraine in the areas near the Poland border, so as to cut off NATO supplies coming into Ukraine, in perfect position to halt weapons shipments from Poland. In other words, they're going to stop NATO, i.e. the United States, from sending all the weapons into Ukraine to fight the Russians with. The Russian ambassador to the USA said early Friday morning the risk of clash between Russia and the USA is now high. Now, you remember, Dmitry was told in 1984 the fall of America would start with an internal revolution in America, started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with the internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 of the countries will attack and defeat America in 1 day and 1 hour. So great riches will come to naught. Putin readies world's most powerful Satan II nuclear missile for combat. Russian President Vladimir Putin is working to ready the world's, quote, most powerful intercontinental ballistic Satan II missile for combat duty for the first time. If Art of War doesn't say it, it probably should. And that is, when your enemy says he is more powerful, you should listen. When your enemy is threatening to attack and defeat you, you should listen. When you see your enemy building up military forces and preparing to attack you, you should pay attention. And right now, it doesn't seem like America is doing any of that, which, of course, is the hand of the Lord. The hand of the Lord bringing the city that's supposed to be the city on the hill, shining the light of Jesus around the globe, but instead has turned and become a cesspool. As the angel said to Dmitry, that this is Sodom and Gomorrah. We are well aware of all NATO forces and resources that they have been using against us over the course of the special military operation. Laid out a series of plans to implement and bolstering the combat readiness of Russia's nuclear triad. The Russian president championed Moscow's stockpiles of avant-garde hypersonic warheads and said that Russia will continue to develop its hypersonic missiles with unique characteristics unmatched in the world. Okay, he has said that many times, and America's not listening. He is openly saying, we have missiles that will reach you that you can't shoot down. He's openly saying that. Have you heard that on Fox News? Have you seen that in any kind of online newspaper? Pretty much no. Because it's like God has blinded the eyes of the Americans. And that's straight out of Jeremiah 50:51. That's part of the prophecy. I've covered that, so I'll move on. The article goes on to say in January, the Gershkov frigate will start combat duty, carries sea-based hypersonic missiles without equal in the world. That's the second time in this article he said it. Everything a fighter uses should be cutting edge, convenient and reliable, and the supply should correspond to their actual needs, Putin continued. If some ministry standards are outdated, they need to be changed and quickly. Now, remember, our topic today is that war is not going to be just contained in one area anymore, and it's not, my brothers and sisters. If we will just listen to what our enemy, the Russians, if we would just listen to what they're saying, we're in trouble. America's in serious trouble. I don't have to tell you that. From bad to worse, mobile air defenses deployed around Moscow, Russia. All right, so if there's two guys out in the parking lot behind the high school about to go to fight, how do you know? Well, they'll put up their dukes. Why? Because they're getting ready to hit, and they've also got to fend off the other fists coming their way. So one of the ways you can tell when nations are about to go to war is when they put up their dukes, okay? That's what Russia is doing right now. Russia is putting up their dukes specifically around their capital, around Moscow. Now, why are they doing that? Because they are expecting somebody to throw a fist at them. There's no other reason. Obviously, we're getting pretty close to a big war, which is just what the first, second, and fourth seals say. First seal went out conquering to conquer. The second, he took peace from the earth. The third one was, and death and hell followed them. And if they killed the fourth part of the earth, with death, with hunger, with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Anyway, let's go on. Russia sending more trainloads of main battle tanks. Trainloads? Trainloads. And their battle tanks, we don't know this for sure, but my guess is their battle tanks can beat our battle tanks now. Yeah, they probably have technology that God has given them to destroy America. Russia is sending more trainloads of main battle tanks and other armor into Belarus. Belarus has now closed access to certain areas of the country. Restricted access just happened to be to 3 districts, and they just happened to border Ukraine on the Kyiv and Chernihiv, however you say that, regions. It should be noted that the Russian offensive towards Kyiv began in February from these areas. Now, here's the point. Poland has decided to add 300,000 more men to their army. So Russia is putting up their dukes. Poland is putting up their dukes. So we are about to see a war, and it's not going to be just in Russia and Ukraine. Obviously, the nations are saying they're expecting this to expand, just like Vicky Parnell was told. You know, if you look at Chronicles, I think it's 2 Chronicles 20:20. It's called the See Clear prophecy. And it says, believe God's prophets, and so shall you prosper. What we should be doing is listening to the prophets, listening to what these people are saying. But, of course, I mean, you look at how many views we get. It's nothing. Nothing compared to 350 million people in America. Every one of our programs that we post should be getting millions of views. Instead, oh, well, you put a picture of a pretty girl in a swimming suit and it get millions of views. You tell people this sort of stuff and nobody wants to hear it. That's what happens to a nation just before God destroys it. Russia moving trainloads into Belarus, S-400 Iskander missiles, 70-plus tanks. The article goes on to say after yesterday's meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin, Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko, and a first move in more than 3.5 years, there are noticeable developments. Putin was accompanied by Defense Minister Shoigu and other ministers. The 3 top men from the Russian government and the rare foreign trip by the top Kremlin spokesman as well. There hasn't been this level of high-ranking Russian officials to any single foreign meeting since the Cold War. Today, trainloads carrying heavy armor into Belarus from Russia, trainloads with T-80 tanks. These are the most advanced tanks. I think that's correct. Within the last 48 hours, Russia has sent at least 73 additional tanks by trains into Belarus. That's the ones I know about. plus an additional 20 infantry fighting vehicles moving southward into Belarus toward Ukraine. It's going to explain why in just a second. And added S-400 air defense missiles, which are better than Americans, and Iskander hypersonic missiles, which we don't have, in Belarus near Ukraine. Retired American colonel says Russia is stronger than all of the NATO countries combined. I'm going to read that again. Russia is stronger than all the NATO countries combined. U.S. retired Colonel James M. McConnell is confident that Russia's military tactics in Ukraine is just what the doctor ordered. In other words, they know what they're doing, and they're doing the right thing militarily to take over. The Russians have begun to destroy the Ukrainian lines of communications, the power grid, bridges, roads, railroads, with which Ukraine's forces can't be resupplied. Now, what did they just say? They're cutting off supplies to Ukraine. So even though the Americans invite Poroshenko, I didn't think I said that right, who cares, over to talk to the Congress, and then we're going to send piles of money back over to Ukraine, all of this is for naught, because the Russians are about to stop it from being transported into Ukraine. That's what it's saying. Once the destruction of the lines of communications is completed, Russia's army, particularly its extensive artillery, will present Ukrainian forces with the unpleasant reality that they are vastly outgunned and outnumbered. Russia is 5 years ahead of the U.S. in the field of hypersonic missile technology. Did you hear that? Russia is 5 years ahead of the U.S. in their hypersonic technology. The United States is defenseless against Russian missiles. I'll say that again. The United States is defenseless against Russian missiles that travel at hypersonic speeds and are capable of maneuvering during the flight. In other words, they can, instead of just going in an arc, you see, they can go up and down. They can go left, they can go right, they can slow down, they can speed up, and we can't deal with that. We can't stop that. And the Russians know it. Not only that, but the Russians also have scalar wave, which can knock out anything in the air, on the ground, on the sea, under the sea, any place on the globe, anytime they want to. Right now, today, if Russia wanted to, they could attack us with missiles that are old style, okay? They don't dodge, they don't turn, they don't maneuver, and everyone would land. And we can't stop it. And if we launched all of our missiles, let's say we have, some 7,000 missiles? If we launched all 7,000, all at the same instant at Russia, Russia can take out every one of them. And they know it. They're not afraid of America. I'll tell you what they're afraid of. They're afraid of the rest of the world thinking they did something wrong. That's the reason they're waiting where they can be able to say, well, look, the United States attacked us first. And, of course, that's not the way it happens. The rest of the world does come down and defeat Russia. And they back from the Russians against the Paris, where they sign a peace treaty, but they make them the Russians their leader. Then all the world, where the Russians as their leader, goes down for Armageddon to attack Israel. That's how it really happened. Let's go on. The United States is defenseless against Russian missiles that travel at hypersonic speeds and capable of maneuvering during the flight path. The U.S. is still at the stage of hypersonic tests. We're testing them. And by the way, if I remember right, I think ours will only fly at like 7 times the speed of sound. Russians, if I'm remembering right, I think it was 13 times the speed of sound or something. Let's put it this way. Russia's got our speed. Whereas Russia has already fielded 4 different hypersonic missiles with its existing families of missile systems. Kinzhal, Kalibr, Iskander, Zircon, let alone the Avangard and hypersonic glide vehicle. In other words, America is already defeated if Russia wants to. Russia can take us out anytime they want to, and we can't do, as we say in Texas, a cotton-picking thing about it. And now a word from Heaven's Courts, 4/28/22. This comes to us from Vicky Goforth Parnell. Now, I'm not going to read all of it. I've already read the whole thing, so I'm just going to skip to the points that I want to make. So the angel shows up and says, will you give this word? She says, yes, yes, I will. The angel Gabriel is standing before me with the rolled scroll in his hands. Skipping, as time grows closer to the rise of the Antichrist, the man of sin, to his full position of power, many demons have been released by man's machine, probably CERN, under Satan's command and allowed by the only true righteous God Jehovah, who reigns all of heaven and earth and hell beneath, for nothing can escape, nothing can happen, except through his divine approval, whether by direct command by him or it's allowed by him. He is the rightful ruler of all. I'll skip. I have a word for your world and for the nation of America. Then he unrolls the scroll. He says, hear ye, all people of the earth. The great whore, that would be America, has been judged. Your world has been judged and found guilty by the holy righteous courts of heaven. You have been warned and loved repeatedly of your sentence for your sins not repented of. The judgment against you is righteous. Now it's time for each to serve their pronounced sentence. Now with God doesn't necessarily mean now with man, just to tell you that. Hear you, all inhabitants of the earth, after much grace, much love, mercy, and compassion, have been granted with time extended in your favor, and I can tell you it has been extended many times. Many good servants of the Lord had been told, here it is, and yet it didn't happen. And God, in his infinite grace, gave us more time, and I'm glad of it. But he now says, your time of grace, or parole, as your world would refer to it, is now revoked and over. As you recall, back in 2015, Maurice Sklar was taken to heaven, shown the courts of heaven, and said that there would be a time extended. Then again, in 2018, the time was extended. Well, now, time is no more extended. So it now says the seven thunders will now begin, which we now know are the giants to be released. War will no longer be contained to one area. That's the point of the whole program today. War will no longer be contained in one area. In other words, it's not going to be just the Russians hitting Ukraine anymore. Now it's going to expand. But the spreading of it shall progress like a disease, a blight upon the earth itself. The mysteries of the seven thunders are now to remain a mystery no more. To the inhabitants of the earth, this message I will bring you from the holy throne room of heaven. You shall go into war. You shall go deeper into famine. You shall endure pestilences of creatures and insects, and pestilence of plagues and diseases. You shall endure famine of the righteous holy word that is given to you by the inspiration of the Holy Spirit of heaven, who dwells currently among you. In 1 hour, now I believe that to be 7 years, and that's talked about, and I already covered that, so I'm going to keep moving, but I believe it's 7 years. In 1 hour of your time, before a full 60 minutes are come to pass at the allotted time, America the great whore shall fall. And that sounds about right to me sometime in the next 7 years. It shall be this blow that shall strip her bare before the vultures that shall dine upon her own flesh. You shall be utterly destroyed as the power upon power, but for the sake of the people found faithful, who have accepted Jesus, the risen Lamb, into their hearts as Savior, the nation shall remain, but not as she once was. Russia is loading. Now let's skip on to the next piece of information. All of this is trying to say that Russia, and really the whole wars, is not going to stay with just Russia and Ukraine anymore. It's going to continue to expand. That's the point of the program today. Russia is now loading ICBMs with a yield of 500 kilotons. There's a scripture in Jeremiah 50 or 51 that says the earth, maybe it's Isaiah actually, the earth is moved at the taking of Babylon. Well, what would move it? That would be a bunch of nuclear weapons all going off the same hour. So the 500 kiloton yield into the silos, a Russian frontline general made a public statement saying the only way to beat NATO is with nuclear weapons. That comes from a DOD insider, or he also says, I can say, he is a military insider, and the next 3 pages also come from him. He says that Russia is sending nukes to Belarus, Kaliningrad, and the Polish border. That we have news articles on. Railway from Belarus to Kaliningrad is how Russia supplies this area. This rail passes through Lithuania. Lithuania has cut off Russian access to this rail system. Belarusians, or Belarus citizens who support Russia, have mined the border between Belarus and Kyiv to mount an offensive to take Kyiv. Kharkiv, Ukraine, mainly Russian-speaking 1.5 million people, could be a major battleground as Russia closes the cauldron of northeast Ukraine. Russia attacks from the southeast and northeast, encircles an area, and closes in, aka closing the cauldron. Vladimir Zelensky wants to settle with Russia, giving them the Russian citizen-occupied territories. But Boris Johnson, representing NATO, refuses to concede any Ukrainian territory. General Sir Patrick Sanders is the new head of the British Army and is now training troops to fight in war as in World War II style combat, means close-range fire hand-to-hand combat. Kyiv to implement counteroffensive in August to give Ukraine a, quote, stronger position in negotiations. Negotiations at this stage is unlikely and more wishful thinking. Ukraine continues to damage and sink Russian ships with U.S. Harpoon missiles. Russia consider this a direct offensive against Russia from the U.S., and I agree, they should. Poland is considering taking possession of the northern part of Ukraine. This will be another escalation toward full European war, and that's the point of the program. War is escalating. Analysis can calculate that there's a 65% chance that Russia will use nukes if they lose India, Belarus, and the areas they acquired on the Black Sea. Russia is using electronic warfare to target communication systems, including cell phones, guidance systems, and navigation systems. When these systems are turned on, Russians can locate and target, neutralize, and source of the signal. It is used against fighter jet, artillery, and cruise missiles, etc. Let me remind you, we have 11 active prophecies that says that the dollar is going to fall. And to remedy that, I'll send you to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. We have 14, well, I guess now 15 food shortage prophecies. And for that, I'll send you to josephkitchen.com. I'll talk more about that in a minute if I have time. We have 32 prophecies saying suitcase nukes are in America and will be set off. And for that, I'll send you to empshield.com. Use promo code Prophecy Club, or actually Prophecy. And we have 7 prophecies that says that Russia will attack America in a surprise nuclear all-out attack. Not just a bomb here or there, but I mean, basically destroy America in 1 hour. Now, you may be saying, so when does this happen? We don't have a date, but this is the best information we do have. April 15, 2002, Prophet Leslie Johnson was spoken to in a dream. That airfare going to the hospital, and that was fulfilled about 2 years later. She was also told that Israel will give the Palestinians a state. The Palestinian state would be a temporary measure to allow the Israelis time to strengthen the military. Then oil will be discovered in Israel, massive amounts. Oil will make the Jews willing to fight for the land, and Israel and America will go against most of the rest of the Arab world. Then, January 22 of 06, she heard 7 audible newspaper headlines, and I can vouch for it because June the 14th of 2008, God showed me Leslie holding up newspapers with these headlines on it. Omer, this is not necessarily the order that they will come. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Catastrophe hits America. One of America's greatest times of need. Israel refuses help to America. Israel is attacked. You should be writing these down. Israel is attacked. America sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice quoting Dimitri, it will start with an internal revolution in America. So, fire breaks out at Saginaw County grain elevator. Fire could burn for another week. The latest fire at a food processing plant. This article says that below is a list of 750 entries where food, meat, grocery, animals, farms, auto, RX, meds, building chemicals, fire, fuel, water, all around the world have all been destroyed, like all in the last 12 to 14 months. See, they're not just attacking America. They're trying to create a worldwide food crisis because that's what the first, second, and fourth seals do. another thing that is pointing to the fact that we may, I'm not ready to say are, but we may be in the tribulation. I encourage you to go to Joseph Kitchen. As you see right now, this is straight from the website. Just took this website a few minutes ago. They have a new holiday bundle, a honey bundle, which, by the way, I have these honey. I've been meaning to bring them in and show you. I love them. These are great. You make your toast, put this honey on there. It's great. Also have a breakfast bundle, different things you can get. And right now they have a big special going with their shipping and also the different sizes of honey, of their wheat. Go check that out. What I recommend you do is get a machine package. This is all the mechanical things that you'll need to make bread. Then decide how much food you want to have. Because most of your long-term storage food, look, this big winter storm coming, you need to make certain you have food, okay? Most of your long-term storage foods places charge you $9,000 to $10,000 to feed one person for a year. $9,000 to $10,000 to feed one person for a year. At Joseph Kitchen, they can show you how to do it for about $1,000 per person for a year. Actual food cost is actually under $1,000. Here's what you do. You get the machine package, then you decide how much food you want. You want food one person 1 year, 2 people 1 year, 4 people 1 year, 6 people 1 year. Look at that. You can feed 6 people for a year. Actual food costs $34.50. Now, that's not everything the body needs, but it is enough in an emergency situation to keep you going. They also have new creamed honey, new pail sizes, and I got to show you about this bread slicer. So I actually had input in making this bread slicer. I had another one. This is long before Joseph Kitchen even started, and there was several things I did not like about it. If you look at the bottom, see, the one I have is wood, but they're sending me this new one. They've just got them in, okay? But if you look down here, this is designed to be like a cutting board so your knife won't get dull. Another thing that I suggested, I said, the other knife that I had that came with it is not long enough, and so you're sawing like that. I said, I want long strokes. Give me a longer knife. So they put in a longer knife. All of this in the now. If you guys have Joseph Kitchen, you're saying, if you've been using a bread slicer, you say, all right, those are great ideas. So go to Joseph Kitchen and order one of those new bread slicers. So I suggest that first of all, let's back up. First of all, right here. Okay, you want to get a machines package. Then at least, if it's you and your wife, you want to get a 2-for-1. If you got kids, probably 4-for-1, maybe even a 6-for-1. That gives you some extra for your neighbors and stuff like that. Get you some cream honey. They got a big special going on their shipping right now. So go to josephkitchen.com, josephkitchen.com. And if you enter the promo code Prophecy Club, they give you a $50 discount. So here we are about to go into a big cold spell. Be nice to have nice warm bread when it's cold outside.